So welcome. We're just getting started a little early here. Give folks a chance to arrive. But I want to share with you why this series, why Monday Mindset. Let's see. There we go. Why Monday Mindset moments? So I know that heading out of the weekend into the week can always use a little reset of just like, how are you going to tackle the fullness of the weekdays, especially with the comings and goings, getting to school, if your child is in school, just wrangling all the after school activities, your own schedule, whether that's at home or at work or both. And Monday Mindset Moment is designed to just sort of give you something that you can chew on all week as you embark on this journey with young children and older children, to support them in their growth, especially in cultivating their resilience. And so what is an idea that could spark you towards that goal and help you make those choices along the way, so that you really are creating a life with your children that you desire, rather than sort of reacting to life coming at you, putting you in the driver's seat, so to speak. So today is all about supporting kids in the moment with their big emotions. And why do kids need support in the moment with their big emotions? Well, it turns out that this is absolutely a set of teachable skills that build the foundation for emotional self-awareness. And children learn a lot more by what we do than by what we say. But what we often sometimes do, though, is skip this piece where we help them kind of connect the dots from what they're witnessing to what they can understand about themselves. Also, we ourselves can have some gaps in how we navigate our own big emotions based on our limited knowledge and experience, based on the role models that we grew up around that we maybe want to take small or big strides away from or improve upon. And so our goal when we're looking at children and their emotions, we want them to have, first and foremost, more self-awareness. And from that self-awareness can lead to more self-regulation, and then more self-management. And then you're starting on the road of self-mastery. And we can start early, really young. So self-awareness skills include things like labeling and recognizing one's own emotions, identifying what triggers emotions, analyzing emotions and knowing how they affect others, understanding the relationships between one's emotions, thoughts, and behaviors, and then eventually being able to recognize your own needs, values, judgments, and biases, and be able to identify strengths, areas of personal strength and growth, all the while practicing self-compassion. And all of this can lead to more self-confidence, a positive self-regard, and a growth mindset and optimism, as well as better friendships, higher reported life satisfaction. You get the idea here. And this all makes sense. Like, if they were to think of somebody who can manage their emotions really well, maybe someone comes to mind. And then think of someone that who doesn't manage their emotions very well, and maybe someone comes to mind. And you can kind of see, like, as time progresses, how that either set of skills or gap in skills leads to different outcomes. So if you want to learn more about just what emotional self-awareness, you can go to the Greater Good in Education, or Greater Good Science Center. It was one of my favorite resources for just really understanding the science behind it. Today, I want to give you a little bit of a mindset shift. So oftentimes what can happen when we are coaching kids with their big emotions is that, I've mentioned this earlier in the series, is that we can kind of like pick a fight with a feeling without realizing it. And I always say, don't, because if you pick a fight with feeling, you're likely going to lose. In other words, until an emotion is processed through, it's like seen, heard, understood, and the person who's experiencing it really has a sense that you're a viable thought partner, or someone who understands at least a little bit of what they're going through, they're likely to sort of stay in that big feeling till they get that. And the way to prolong the experience is to actually try to force them to shift out of the emotion faster than is needed. Yeah. So one thing that you can do instead, and this has been backed up by so many studies, is coach our kids through their emotions. Now, this is not to say that kids don't have any of their own innate wisdom of how to move through emotions. As a matter of fact, in some ways, I know folks who I know I've met kids who are better at it than the adults. Like they're angry and they let themselves like shake and go "Rah!" and like let it out, and then they bounce back and move on. Where maybe an adult might stuff it in and carry this resentment for hours or days or weeks. So kids do have a natural inclination towards like a lot of really great coping strategies. However, they're also like limited in their life experience, and there's some insights that we can kind of help them with, and I'm sharing them with you today. So first things first, when we coach a child through their big emotions, we really do want to get side by side with them and find a way into help them recognize that we're there to help, that we're not there to fight with the feeling or to make it go away immediately, or make it in any way wrong, that they're experiencing the strong emotion, even if you know that eventually they won't get upset about these things as they grow up and mature. So here are some steps that you can lead them through. And by the way, this is what I have all of my clients practice in my private coaching intensives and in our year-long Family Foundations immersion program, for good reason. Like we actually take good time on this, several times throughout the year, for example, to practice this. So as you're looking through this, you'll notice that there are different components, helping them tune into their body by maybe pointing something out, noticing your face is red and your mouth is frowning and your voice is getting louder. You're hoping that they will eventually start to go, geez, I'm clenching my fists and my jaw is really tight. Maybe I'm upset about something, maybe I need to release this tension. Then helping them name the emotion if it seems like they are receptive to that. Sometimes for kids, that's actually kind of triggering. They get more upset. No, I'm not angry. But if it seems like it could be helpful, you could say, oh, it looks like you're feeling angry and frustrated. And I always like to ask, did I get that right? And they can let you know, no, it's my friend didn't give me a turn. And so then that's a clue. Okay, they don't necessarily want to name it. They're really focusing on the event, and then you can shift on helping them talk through the event. So either way, you're being helpful because you're helping them start to like process what happened or how they're feeling. Next is to validate it and show some understanding. I say just find one thing that makes sense about it. You don't have to agree. Like I wouldn't necessarily agree, like, yes, you should be furious when your friend doesn't give you a turn. You're not trying to reinforce that logic that led them there necessarily. So you kind of have to be choosy with what you get behind. But I do like to say, like, yeah, it can be frustrating when somebody isn't treating you very fairly. I totally understand that. For like this, for example, it makes sense you're frustrated and even angry right now. Your sister keeps touching your stuff even when you tell her to stop. This helps the child. You'll notice sometimes your kid will shift right there and look at you differently and soften and maybe like reach for your comfort, or will kind of like maybe even some sadness will come in because they're feeling seen, and now they can let go of the anger and let the sadness come through. You're going to want to look for that. And if that's not happening, then it could be that you need to just help them change the scene, get away from the triggering event, take their mind off of it, and all these other coping strategies that I'm teaching in the 6-part series in June, and that all my clients are aware of. But if you are able to kind of be their thought partner, you could even ask them, would you like to, and offer a coping tool. Like, would you like to take some 4 square breaths so you don't get more upset and start yelling again? I'm here to help you calm down and we can solve this problem together. It's nice to say something hopeful and helpful like that, just to clarify why you're offering it, because sometimes this is where things get really convoluted, where it's like, well, I need you to calm down, so because I can't handle that you're upset, so you better calm down for me. It doesn't necessarily fly very well if a child isn't feeling seen and heard yet. So instead, just letting them know like you're there to help is really reaffirming that like it's safe to kind of let go and move through the emotion with you, and that you're really there to support them. And when you see them use the tool, it's really great to describe the shift and reinforce that it's working or that it's helpful. Wow, I notice your face has softened and your voice is quieter. Do you feel calmer? Help them check back in with their body. And then in the end, are you ready to try again? And sometimes the answer is no, and you need to give it some space and just check and say something like, well, that's fine, but next time we come to the park, let's make sure we, you know, try something different so maybe it'll go better. Or later, after dinner, let's make like I want to sit down and talk to you and your sister to help both of you understand how you can, treat each other more respectfully. I've done this thousands and thousands of times with children, and there is this little spot in my like mental chalkboard where I make a little note where I'm like, make sure I come back to this. And if you need to do that and text yourself or write a note in your phone, create a reminder, however you like to kind of prompt yourself, it can be really helpful so that you do kind of keep, follow up. And so one thing I want to just share with you, as you're looking these over, is that you can absolutely just do one of these things, and that can also still be helping guide them through a big emotion. You can go through every step. It's really up to you. And I would just ask, as you're watching this recording or as you're listening to this live, in the chat or in the comments, pick one. Just pick one that you want to try for this next week so that when you come back next Monday, you can maybe let us know how it went. And just have a point of focus so that you don't get overwhelmed by trying to do it all at once. So I would say either pick one that seems the most natural to you, like will roll off your tongue really easily, like you'll think of it very easily, or maybe pick one that will challenge you, like something that might be even a gap in your current approach. And go ahead and share in the chat or the comments which one you picked, and maybe a little bit about why. So like if I were to participate, I would write something like, validate their emotion with one thing that makes sense, because I often skip this step and get in a power struggle instead by like arguing with their emotion, So I'm just modeling it, what it might look like to go ahead and pick something and write it in the chat. Good. Okay. And then I'm going to hop over to Facebook and see what folks are writing. If you haven't written anything or said hello yet, please do. Otherwise, I don't know who's there. It just has a little number of people. Okay. All right. So hopefully you've picked one by now. And let me know in the chat which one you picked. I've got Melissa Elves. Hi, Melissa. You want the resource of the Greater Good Science Center? Yeah, I'll put it in the chat for you. No problem. Okay, so your son came home upset because of something he felt at school. Okay, yeah, and you say you totally didn't respond to his emotion. We'll need to come back and listen. He is needing some quality time right now. Yeah, Melissa, I love that plan. That's really lovely. And I wonder if there's one thing from the list that stood out to you that you think he would be particularly receptive to, or would feel particularly supportive to him. Definitely some kids prefer a more somatic approach where you do help them tune into their body and pick like a soothing tool that's more somatic. Some other kids really like to talk it out. So there's going to be a lot of story, like they need time to like share the story and hear you share back what you heard them say, like, oh, and then this happened. Oh, wow. And then this, well, no wonder you got frustrated. Yeah, that sounds frustrating. They might need more of that style of emotion coaching. So I wonder, what's your intuition, Melissa, for your child? What do you think he might need from you? I'd love to hear it in the chat and we can all check it out with you. Dana, I know that you haven't yet had a chance to pop into the chat, but if there was a time you were gonna participate, this would be it. Yeah, go ahead and drop in some thoughts or a takeaway in the chat. Otherwise, I'm sure you can chat it up with Tiffany later with your sister. All right, so we're gonna be back next week for another Monday Mindset Moment. Again, 5 to 15 minutes every Monday at noon Pacific. And I think next week we've got 3 essential EQ skills that every young child or every growing person needs. So we'll roll through, and we already worked on several of them actually in the series, but we'll go down a punchy list so that you can have a sense of like where to focus for next week. All right, well, I hope this series has been helpful to you. If you'd like to invite any folks to join in, you can, and you're in the Facebook group, you can head over to that blue invite button that's at the top next to the Raising Our Resilience parent group header. It looks like this, show you. And it's really easy, just hit invite, or you can even send an email, and then you just go ahead and type in your friends' names in the search bar, click who you want to send it to, and then just hit send invites. And they'll be invited, and we'll fold them into this great community. All right, lots of love to you all. Go sweetly into the the week with this, knowing that you can just pick one thing. Oh, real quick from Dana, validating their emotion. Oh, no, that was me. Za, angry about limiting her time on the iPad. Yes, okay, right. And so wanting to help her know that there's one thing that makes sense about that while you still follow through with limiting the time on the iPad. And then I would talk to Tiffany about previewing and maybe bringing in some timers, a timer that she likes, and doing a 5-minute and a 2-minute heads up, and then a 1-minute, and then even role playing through what it looks like when the timer goes off. Like maybe there's a little parting moment that you do with the iPad where she like closes it and puts it over her head or something. Kids need like something kind of ritualized around separating with devices, or else they make up all kinds of other ways to hold on to them. So you can give that a try, Dana. And I'm so glad you brought that up. I'm sure other folks are appreciative of the topic. All right, with that, we will close. Lots of love to you all. See you next week. And yeah, don't be shy to fold some new folks into the group, and our community can continue to grow, and more parents can feel more confident and resilient and empowered and calm, and so can our kids. All right, see you next time. Bye.